I didn't move to New York to fall in love. I came to conquer it. That was what Claire Monroe told herself the day she stepped off the plane at JFK with one suitcase, a laptop, and a folder full of marketing ideas that were going to change the world. And for 5 years, she meant it. She lived in a 500-square-foot walk-up in Brooklyn with a busted radiator and a view of the building next door. She worked 70-hour weeks at Brand Theory, a rising ad agency known for turning unknown products into household names. Her coffee order was more complicated than her dating life. Claire wasn't looking for soulmates, just success, until a late Monday night in November changed everything, and his name was Miles Carter. Claire's heels echoed in the glass conference room as she paced before the pitchboard. Target Gen wants bold. They want viral. They want something no one's ever seen, she said, flicking through slides with practiced confidence. And we're going to give it to them. Her assistant, Jen, scribbled notes. Claire, said her creative director from the head of the table, what you're proposing is high risk. She didn't blink. So is staying safe. Silence. Then a nod. Run it. By the time she left the meeting, it was 9 p.m. The office was half dark. Most of the staff had gone home. Claire stayed, not because she had to, but because she didn't know how not to. She was halfway through refining the campaign deck when someone knocked on the glass. A man in a sharp blazer stood there, holding a carry-out bag and 2 coffees. He was tall, clean-shaven, with eyes the color of storm clouds. Claire Monroe? He asked. She blinked. That's me. I'm Miles Carter, strategy consultant, just transferred in from Chicago. HR said you're the team lead for Target Gen? Claire crossed her arms. That's right. I brought food. I was told you forget to eat. She smirked. They're not wrong. He set the bag on her desk. Figured if I was going to join a project this ambitious, I might as well make a decent first impression. Claire eyed him for a moment, then smiled. Okay, Carter. Let's see if you're as smart as your coffee order. Claire didn't believe in workplace relationships. Not because of policy. Brand Theory was famously hands-off as long as things stayed professional. But because she knew how fast ambition could get complicated when feelings got involved. She'd seen it before. 2 interns hook up, one gets promoted. The other quits in a storm of passive-aggressive Slack messages. Claire wasn't about to let a man, no matter how strategic, charming, or coffee-savvy, distract her. Still, Miles made it hard to ignore him. He wasn't just smart. He was strategic in a way that complemented her fire. Where Claire saw big, loud moves, Miles saw data, nuance, and chessboard thinking. On day 3, he rewrote the Target Gen forecast deck overnight. Not because anyone asked him to, but because he noticed a flaw in the way demographics were being sliced. Claire hated to admit it, but it was better than hers. I'm not here to step on toes, he told her the next morning, sliding the printout onto her desk. She raised an eyebrow. Then what are you doing? He grinned. Dancing next to them. She laughed before she could stop herself. Oh, she thought. Danger. The team started noticing, of course. Not the flirtation. That was too subtle. But the energy. Meetings. With Claire and Miles turned electric. They bounced ideas off each other like magnets. When one spoke, the other listened like the whole campaign depended on it. At one point, Jen whispered to Claire, "You guys should get a room." Claire just rolled her eyes. "We're getting a campaign." Late one Friday night, they stayed past midnight fine-tuning the ad scripts. "You always work like this?" he asked as she stretched and winced from too much sitting. "Only when it matters." Miles leaned back in his chair, studying her. "You're intense." "You say that like it's a bad thing." "It's not," he said. "It's rare. You care more than anyone else in the room, and it shows." Claire looked away. Compliments always hit her weird, like she didn't know where to put them. Why'd you really transfer from Chicago? She asked, changing the subject. Miles hesitated. Long story. We've got all night. He glanced out the window, where the city lights flickered. My ex-fiancé worked in our Chicago office. When things ended, I figured it was time to start fresh. Claire blinked. Fiancé? He nodded. Engaged 6 months. Called it off 3 weeks before the wedding. What happened? She said I loved my work more than I loved her. And she wasn't wrong. Claire's throat tightened slightly. I know that game, she said quietly. He looked at her. You ever lose someone over it? Once. College boyfriend. We moved to the city together. I got my first campaign lead and forgot his birthday. He said I'd fallen in love with the version of me that only existed at work. Was he right? She didn't answer. Miles leaned forward. Here's a theory. Maybe the version of you at work is the real you, and the right person won't be intimidated by that. They'll admire it. She smiled faintly. You giving dating advice now, Carter? Just saying. Maybe ambition doesn't have to come at love's expense. Claire's phone buzzed. A Slack notification. Meeting rescheduled. She grabbed it like a lifeline. But that night, she didn't sleep. Hey there. If you've made it this far into Claire and Miles's story, tell me, have you ever had to choose between your dreams and your heart? Drop a if you're team career or a if you're team love in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this series, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what happens next when ambition and affection collide. Miami was hot, loud, and fast, like Claire's heartbeat as the cab sped toward the beachfront Hilton, where the Brand Forward Summit was being held. Target Gen's slot was scheduled for 10 a.m. Thursday, and by every measurable standard, Claire's campaign had become the talk of the agency. Everyone was watching, and the pressure was suffocating. Claire arrived a day early to rehearse. Miles, of course, was already there. You booked the suite with the view, she noted, stepping into the hotel room they were sharing to save. On costs. He grinned. We're co-leads. I figured if we're going to burn the midnight oil, we might as well do it with a view of the ocean. She dropped her bag and took in the panorama, neon sunsets and swaying palms. Not exactly what she pictured when she dreamed of career glory, but it didn't hurt. Nice, she admitted. But tomorrow, we win. Miles handed her a folder. Or we redefine what winning means. The night before the pitch, they ran through the presentation twice, then a third time for luck. Everything was sharp, flawless, and yet Claire was tense, coiled like a spring. You okay? Miles asked, watching her chew her thumbnail. She hesitated. I've wanted this moment my whole life, she said. To be on that stage, selling an idea I built from scratch. But, he prompted. I'm afraid if I mess this up, I'm not who I thought I was. Miles stepped closer. Not too close, just enough to be there. Listen to me, he said. You didn't get here by accident. You're the most prepared person I've ever worked with. But more than that, you care. People feel that. She blinked rapidly. And if it all burns down tomorrow, she whispered. Then we rebuild it, he said. Together. That last word, together, lingered in the air. Claire felt it, like gravity. So did Miles, and just like that, he kissed her. No grand gesture, no dramatic sweep. Just one quiet, inevitable kiss between two people who had been circling the moment for weeks. It was soft, real, brief, but enough to short-circuit her brain. When he pulled back, neither of them spoke, because they both knew. Tomorrow was going to change everything, no matter what. The big morning Claire stood backstage in a navy power suit, heels planted, nerves jangling. Miles leaned against the wall beside her, watching the crowd file into the ballroom. "You ready?" he asked. She nodded. "Ask me again in 15 minutes. They walked on stage together, and from the first slide, Claire was electric. She wasn't just pitching. She was storytelling, leading the audience through pain points, innovation, emotion, and humor. The campaign's theme, "Be Seen. Be bold, be you," landed like thunder. Miles handled the analytics and ROI projections with cool confidence, reinforcing her narrative with cold, beautiful numbers. When the Q&A ended, the crowd stood up and clapped. A standing ovation. They had done it. Claire felt it. Not just success, but something bigger. A milestone. A shift. Backstage, someone handed her a champagne glass. People hugged her. Someone from a competing firm even offered her a job on the spot. But all she wanted was to find Miles. She saw him across the room, his tie loosened, surrounded by execs. Their eyes met. She moved toward him. But before she reached him, a woman appeared at his side. Blonde. Tall. Familiar. Claire froze. Miles turned, startled, and said, "Claire, this is Emily." Claire's stomach dropped. Emily, as in the ex-fiancé. Claire Monroe just conquered her career-defining moment, only to have her heart blindsided by a name from the past. What would you do if your new flame's ex showed up right after your biggest win? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned for Where Things Get Real. Claire wasn't the jealous type, or so she thought, until she watched Miles hug Emily like someone he hadn't quite unhooked from yet. They didn't kiss. They didn't whisper. They didn't even look guilty. But Claire didn't need evidence. She felt it. That strange, quiet shift in a room when old love walks in like it owns part of you. "Emily's here for the summit," Miles explained after they'd peeled off from the celebration. They were standing on the hotel balcony now, the sound of crashing waves below, the buzz of champagne in Claire's blood rapidly sobering. "She's in tech marketing now. We haven't spoken in almost a year." Claire folded her arms. "You didn't know she'd be here?" "I didn't. And even if I had, it wouldn't have mattered." She raised an eyebrow. "Wouldn't have mattered?" "Because she's not the one I care about anymore." His words were firm, but something about the moment, the timing, the shadow of their kiss still hanging between them, made her hesitate. "This is all too fast," she murmured. "We just kissed for the first time last night." Miles stepped closer. "And you think that changed everything?" "No," she whispered. "I think it revealed everything." He sighed. "Look, Claire, I don't know what this is between us, but I know it's real. I haven't connected with anyone like this in years. I don't want to screw it up." Claire looked out at the ocean. "Then don't." Back in New York, they didn't talk much on the flight home. Too many eyes, too much unspoken. But back in the city, things shifted again. Target Gen went viral. Claire was offered a promotion, Director of Strategy, the youngest in brand theory's history. Miles was offered a job too, but not in New York, San Francisco. An exec who'd seen him at the summit had made a hard pitch. High salary, equity, and a relocation package that included a private workspace and advisory board title. When he told Claire, she froze. "You're actually considering it?" "I wasn't," he said, "until I realized we haven't even figured out what this is." She stared at him. "So instead of talking about it, you thought you'd leave?" Miles ran a hand through his hair. "That's not fair." "No," she said quietly. "What's not fair is thinking we could be something more, and then watching you run when it gets complicated." He paused. "I'm not running. Feels like it." 1 week later, they stopped texting. stopped checking in. Claire buried herself in her new role. Bigger meetings, global clients, higher stakes. Her name started showing up in press releases. She was finally that woman. The one she used to dream of being, and she'd never felt lonelier. Her therapist said, "What would it look like to want something without needing to dominate it?" Claire had no answer. She missed Miles, not just his presence, but his challenge. The way he made her laugh at 2 a.m. over data errors. The way he listened to her dreams like they were already happening. She missed belonging to something other than work. Miles, meanwhile, San Francisco wasn't New York. It was smoother, cleaner, more laid back. His team was smart. The office had kombucha on tap. But something was off. In New York, he'd felt alive, like his ideas had teeth, like his days had stakes, like Claire was right around the corner, ready to make him earn every word. Out west, everything felt comfortable. Too comfortable. 6 weeks later, the wedding Claire's college roommate, Sabrina, was getting married, upstate. Claire hadn't planned to go. Too busy, too tired, too emotionally fried. But at the last minute, she found herself driving through the Hudson Valley in a borrowed rental dress and 3 hours of sleep. She arrived just in time for the reception. It was all white lights and string quartets and a soft buzz of champagne and candles. She barely knew anyone anymore. She was halfway through her third mini quiche when she heard a voice behind her. "I was starting to think I made the trip for nothing." Claire turned. Miles. Standing there in a navy suit, holding 2 drinks, his hair a little longer, his expression unreadable. "You came," she whispered. He handed her a glass. "So did you." They stood in silence for a moment, both pretending not to stare. "I've been meaning to call," she finally said. "So have I." "Why didn't you?" Miles hesitated. "I think I needed to figure out who I was without you before I could come back to you," Claire swallowed. "And did you?" He nodded. "And I still want you." She blinked, heart thudding. "I got offered another job," he said. "Remote, East Coast based. I'd be consulting, traveling. More, but based out of New York. If I take it, I'd be home again." Claire stared at him. "You'd move back?" "I'd come back," he corrected. "For me. But also, yeah, for you if you'll have me." She set down her drink and stepped closer. "I don't need a fairy tale," she said. "I just want someone who doesn't flinch when I'm too ambitious or too tired or too complicated." Miles smiled. "Sounds like we're in the same market." And then, finally fully, they kissed again. No confusion. No interruption. Just yes. Claire had always thought of love as something you circled around, like a planet orbiting the sun of your real life. Work. But with Miles back in New York, she started to think maybe love wasn't a detour. Maybe it was part of the map. Chapter 1. Building the us. They didn't move in together right away. Too soon. Too messy. Too many late-night calls with clients on opposite coasts. But they started building rhythms. Weekend coffee at 9th Street Espresso. Midweek takeout wars. Miles loved Thai. Claire was a taco loyalist. Sunday nights with shared Google calendars and arguments about who blocked off Friday with do not disturb and a winking emoji. They weren't perfect. They argued about work. A lot. Claire didn't always know when to stop. Miles sometimes disappeared into data and forgot to text back. But instead of letting resentment grow in silence, they named it. Talked about it. Sometimes loudly. Sometimes with tears. But always together. "I don't need you to rescue me," Claire said once, frustrated after a tough pitch. "I'm not here to rescue you," Miles replied gently. "I'm here to remind you that you're not alone." Chapter 2. Milestones. They hit the usual ones. First trip together, Napa. They fought over GPS, spilled wine on white sheets, and kissed in a vineyard under fairy lights. First family visit. Claire's mom grilled Miles like a CIA agent. He survived. First real scare, when Miles was offered a VP title at a tech giant in Austin. I turned it down. He told her casually over dinner. Claire froze, mid-bite. Wait, what? You didn't even tell me you were interviewing. I wasn't. They reached out. Still, that's huge. Miles looked at her carefully. It is, but I want to be where you are. I'm building something here, not just a resume. Claire stared at him. You turned down VP. For me? He reached across the table. For us. That night, she cried. Not because of the sacrifice, but because, for once, she didn't feel like she had to apologize for being worth choosing. Chapter 3. Cracks and glue success wasn't linear. Claire's team lost a major client due to budget cuts. She took it personally, worked 70-hour weeks trying to replace them, forgot birthdays, slept 3 hours a night. One evening, Miles found her asleep on her laptop, glass of wine untouched, inbox overflowing. Babe, he whispered, brushing hair from her forehead. You're not a machine. She didn't wake up. The next morning, he scheduled a full-day intervention. Brunch, a walk by the river, 0 screens. I feel guilty, she admitted. Like if I don't push harder, I'll lose momentum. Miles shook his head. Claire, you are momentum. But even rockets need to refuel. She smiled at that. They started building breaks into their lives like meetings. Protected time. Laughter. Time. Quiet time. Because ambition without rest isn't sustainable. And love without space isn't kind. Chapter 4. The Big Decision. 2 years into their relationship, Claire was offered a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, VP of Brand Development, at one of the top agencies in the world. Global travel, huge budget, bigger stakes. The only problem? It was based in London. She came home late that night, heart pounding. I got the offer, she said, holding the letter like it might bite. Miles read it silently, then looked up. Wow. Yeah. Silence. He sat down. So, do you want it? Claire swallowed. I don't know. It's what I always said I wanted. But now, she hesitated. I'm not sure if it's still mine to want. Miles stood and crossed to her. It is. I love you, Claire. But I won't hold you back. She looked up at him, eyes glassy. Would you come with me? He smiled. I thought you'd never ask. Chapter 5. London Baby. They moved 6 months later. New apartment. New culture. New chaos. Claire thrived. The UK team adored her energy, her no BS leadership. She missed bagels and New York sarcasm, but she gained something too. Perspective. Miles found remote consulting work, launched his own startup, got into yoga, somehow made friends with the barista who never smiled. They weren't the same people they were back in New York, but they weren't supposed to be, because love that lasts doesn't stay in place. It evolves. Final. Scene. 3 years later. Brooklyn rooftop Claire's back in New York for a speaking gig. She's keynoting a Women in Business conference, her name in lights, her hair shorter, her style sharper. She's calm in a way that's not performative, the calm of someone who knows she belongs. Miles is there too, watching from the wings. After the talk, they sneak onto the rooftop of their old apartment. The skyline is still the same, but everything else has changed. She leans into him. Remember when I thought love would ruin my career? He grins. And I thought I was destined to crash alone into the atmosphere? They both laugh. We made it, she whispers. No, he says. We're making it. He takes her hand, and somewhere in the background, fireworks go off. A wedding nearby, or a celebration of someone else's story. But this one's theirs. And that's a wrap on Claire and Miles's journey. From rivals to partners, from ambition to affection, from broken hearts to something whole. If you've ever felt torn between your career and your heart, we hope their story reminded you. You don't have to choose. You just have to find someone who wants to build it with you. Like what you heard? Hit that like button, subscribe for more modern love stories, and comment below. Would you move across the world for love? Or would you stay true to your dream job? Let's talk about it.